Hi stock investors, JJ here, welcome back. Well, today we've got Fundstrat's Tom Lee again, our favorite perma bull. He does make some wild predictions. Let's see what he's saying today. He is saying some things about small caps again. Let's get into it.
Joining me now is Fundstrat co-founder, managing partner, Tom Lee. Tom, good to have you back. Now, I know you're saying that the bottom is in for the market from that early August move. I'm still fixated on your expectations for small caps. I've been talking about them a bit in this hour through the rest of the year. You still think that they could go up 40% by year end?
Yes. John,
there we go. This is still prediction. He did say that small caps, he thought the small cap Russell 2000 index would go up 50% in this year. It's now later in August. He still thinks it can go 40% up by the end of the year. And don't get me wrong, I'd be happy if that happened. I've got quite a few small caps in my portfolio, so that would be good. But they're going up anyway. They have been doing well. It's a stock picking rather than the whole market index. But let's see what his rationale is for this.
So for small caps to rise 40% means that the PE, the median Russell 2000 stock, goes from 10 times to 14 times. So it's not asking the market to provide some magic and a huge revaluation. It's actually just saying small cap stocks, which have been left for dead largely because the Fed's been tight for almost 2 years, as they start to normalize policy and as mergers pick up, its merger activity has been accelerating this year, and it should really strengthen because it's a sign of CEO confidence. All of these flow through to benefit small cap stocks, and it's not like smaller companies are growing slower. I know people post all these stats about small caps losing money. It's mainly because of the biotech components basically don't make money, and that's the largest cohort of stocks in the Russell.
I agree with that. That's not all small caps there. If you, as I said, if you're stock picking, if you're picking the good companies, there are some really good small cap companies around. And I think if they've got a long runway for growth, you have to be picky, then they should do well over time, no matter what conditions or the economic conditions do affect companies. But people talk about how the interest rates affect small caps more and so forth, but there are some good small cap companies around that do well. We should do well anyway, just as good as long as large caps have been.
But the Russell 2000 median earnings growth is almost 700 basis points faster than the S&P, and top line growth is almost 400 basis points. So you're getting better growth, lower valuation, and I think the catalyst is now when the market is convinced the Fed is embarking on a rate cutting cycle.
Again, I agree with that. There's some good growth there, and valuations are generally cheaper in small caps, although the good ones, there are a lot of eyes on it. If you go down into the over-the-counter market there, commonly known as the pink sheets, then there are still good companies, some good companies in there if you know what you're doing, and valuations can be quite low in there. Not financial advice, not recommendations. You do have to know what you're doing if you're going to go into that market, and in small caps in general. Not a lot of analyst eyes, or not as many analyst eyes on these to help people out. Not that analysts often do that well anyway.
Okay. Could happen Friday.
Okay, so if a 40% upward move happens for, say, the Russell 2000, what happens for mega caps? What happens for the broader S&P 500? Do you expect them to have similarly dramatic moves, or is there a major rotation that you're expecting?
Okay, he has been talking about the great rotation into small caps here. Before we hear what he has to say, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, do remember to smash that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people as well. Thanks.
Well, John, we've already witnessed this happen in large caps. NVIDIA's risen 40% in 8 trading days. So when someone says the Russell 2000, which is made of even cheaper companies, can't rise 40% in the next 5 months, they're forgetting that we've already seen huge moves in the mega caps. I don't think
huge moves in the mega caps, but also up and down. Nvidia went down something like 28% just in this move down, and then it's back. So there can be huge volatility. We've seen huge volatility in companies like Tesla as well. So I get what he's saying there, but an index is kind of different than the individual stocks.
Mega caps have to go down.
Do you expect it to happen in isolation with the small caps is what I'm getting? I know that Nvidia's done that. Some other stocks have done that themselves. But if you're talking about all of the small, the small caps as an index moving up that much, what do these other things do?
Well, I think that a 40% move in small caps doesn't mean the rest of the market goes down. I just think that's going to highlight that the market is broadening, which is something we all...
I knew he was going to say that, broadening out. So everything is going to go up. So he's a perma bull, not necessarily a rotation, but a broadening out from mega caps, large caps, and small caps catching up. I think that's what he's saying.
But it's also basically doing a risk-reward analysis, which is, look, I think if you can get 18% earnings growth and pay 10 times earnings, perhaps that's a good risk-reward. And I think money that's on the sidelines, or people who've been thinking bonds are going to be, and cash is a place you want to stick for the next 5 years, but if the Fed starts cutting, they're going to look for places where there's good risk reward, and I think that's small caps.
Do you need dramatic cuts for that thesis to pan out, or are there other potholes in the road that you see that threaten your thesis?
Well, a recession would be negative. I don't think the Fed has to make major cuts. It actually just has to... I think the market narrative that would be the best for small caps is the belief that real interest rates are too tight now, 5.5% versus inflation trending towards 2%, and getting rates back down to a neutral rate of 3%. If the market believes that, they don't need the cuts to be front-end loaded, but they have to believe we're going back towards neutral. I think that'd be a huge catalyst for small caps.
Do you think that the market has been pricing in this interest rate rise? It's been talked about, interest rate cuts, been talked about for so long. It's been called for emergency rate cuts when the market dipped there. There were people like Professor Jeremy Siegel calling for an emergency rate cut of 0.75%. Now the market's rebounded. Do you think that the market has been pricing in these rate cuts, and so when it happens, it'll be kind of a sell the news event? I'd be interested to know. Let me know in the comments what you think about that.
Okay, now let me ask you about more about mega caps and about the consumer. How important, not necessarily just to small caps, but to the whole market narrative, will NVIDIA earnings next week be?
Well, NVIDIA is really important because it's underpinning really what is driving the U.S. economy, which is a real push towards productivity, using basically digital tools and automation. That's a very important disinflationary trend. And of course, the U.S. companies, all of the big ones are all the U.S. I mean, it's a global phenomenon that benefits U.S. companies. So I think it's incredibly important. But NVIDIA, trading at 26 times forward earnings isn't that demanding a stock either. So it's not like I would say sell NVIDIA to buy small caps. I think NVIDIA is still a long-term buy.
So he has said this. Sorry about that. He has said that these mega caps are still worth having. He said as a core portfolio, Apple and Nvidia and Tesla and stocks like that, Amazon, they're core parts of the portfolio. He has said that in the past, so I think it's going to broaden out and for small caps to go up with it. What do you think about that? Do you think he's right? There's these predictions. It's a big prediction. Again, he makes big calls, and it should. But if it does happen, it'll definitely do well for my portfolio in terms of small caps. Talking about portfolio, I have a deal for my viewers for a special offer on ShareSite, which is a portfolio tracking and reporting tool that 400,000 investors trust worldwide, including me. It keeps track of my investments, and you can bring Bitcoin in there. If you have different brokers, you can bring the trades in when they happen. Bring in historical trades so you can work out your true performance of your portfolio. Go to this landing page. There'll be a link in the description. Check out this video here for more and take up the special offer. You can even join for free, but the premium offer, you get many more features, of course. And also talking about small caps, I talk about sometimes small caps in my portfolio, not investment advice at all, over my weekly investing updates. And I do have this secret source stock analysis course that I'm adding to modules over time to go not stock tips, but stock analysis over time. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for your company, and I'll see you in the next one.